Hey everyone, Tuesday night, getting back to zero, getting the great holiday weekend. Lots of, actually, it was busy. I was moving my daughter from her house into storage while she's moving. We had the basement flood. I've learned how to rewire a washing machine and replace the water pump. It's been hectic, but it was still. I woke up with no hangover in any of the days, so it was a win. I have a guest on I'm extremely excited about. I ran across Kenneth on, I believe, Instagram and kind of read some of his background, but I contacted Kenneth and asked him if he'd come on and share. He has a book that I finished called 12 Faces of Sober. Actually, we have it scrolling across the bottom. Kenneth is one of those people that makes me realize after reading his book that I lead a very boring life. And I'm extremely, after reading his book, happy that I lead a very boring life. This man has gone through more than I ever want to go through, and yet he's battled through it and come out on top. Kenneth is, I'm going to bring him in real quick. Kenneth, welcome to Getting Back to Zero. How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good, Jeff. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on your show and be able to share.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm dying to hear this. I read your book, and it's an easy, fun read. Like I said, there's not a dull moment in it, and I don't even know how you're still standing. Kenneth has dealt with trauma, gambling, marital issues, family, parents that were drinkers, was in the military, post-traumatic stress, domestic violence. You've exceeded. I mean, you've covered all the bases, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Except for my mom, she didn't drink. It was just my dad.
Oh, that was the Pepsi, and I read that and I thought of her because I'm a Diet Pepsi person, but she had the Pepsi and you took it out of her hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
That was
yeah,
it.
it was...
So tell us about your story and how did you end up writing a book about it?
12 Faces of Sober. How I came up with the title. It's not necessarily based off of the 12 steps. The 12 symbolizes when I actually started. I'm sorry, the first time I got drunk, and I was 12 years old. That was the first time, and then the Faces of Sober basically came from when I was in treatment this last time in St. Cloud. Big shouts out to the St. Cloud Regional VA Hospital. I did a 30-day stint, and each day when we had to go to group, they would ask us how you were feeling emotionally, and you had to describe it in a face. So that was something that kind of stood out. And in some of the chapters, I listed it as sad face and things like that, just to kind of incorporate some of the things that I was going through in treatment. But I decided to write the book when once I got out of treatment. That was roughly January of 2017. And I went back to my alma mater where I got my bachelor's degree from St. Cloud State University in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And I went back to where I started working in college back in 2001, which is multicultural student services. And basically I was in like a mentor position and was just helping the young students. And a lot of them were asking me, you're 36, 37, why did you decide to go back to school? And I said, well, let me start by, how I got here, got to this point. And as I shared my story with plenty of the students, they were like, you have to put it on paper. And I was like, I'm not for sure because, I'm at this point, I'm in grad school, and, grad school, the papers are not those 5-page term papers. Now you're writing 20, 25, 30-page papers. So I didn't necessarily do it until after I got finished with my master's degree, which was in December of 2018. And so I decided to go ahead and do it then, because now I'm disabled, 100% disabled through the VA. And I don't have, I chose not to work. And so I basically just dedicated my time from January of 2019 all the way up until when I completed it, which was December of 2019, and it pretty much came into play. Actually, my book has been out for a year. It'll be out. I'm sorry, it'll be a year. July, I would say July 31st. It's been out ever since.
And I got an autographed copy too, by the way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really do.
I love it. Hey, a couple of the quotes, and I want to get into your story, but a couple of quotes I highlighted that really resonated with me in your story. I can't get anything right. Whatever I continuously got the same results. Now, whatever you finally did something, I want to hear about it to get different results, but the continuously got the same results. And that's story of my life, how many attempts and to fix things I never did. And the other one, and I think it was someone told it to you, but the quote, keep it simple in your recovery. You can only control what you have the power over, which, my mentality is I want to control everyone. I want to change everything, including myself today. And I'll fail. And if I fail, I'm going to get discouraged and I'm going to quit. So just control what I actually have a chance of controlling. Those really hit home with me, were with your journey. But so 12 years old or whatever it was, you have just sum up, just give us a little of your story and how you got here.
Well, the second quote about keeping it simple, that was from my sponsor, Marie, and she's in Minnesota. She's just turned 84. I would say June 24th, and I had an opportunity to see her. She gave me a pretty good stack of books. And she's been my sponsor since 2008. And to address the other quote, I had a lot of bad relationships that ended because of alcohol. So that was the common denominator. It was, I had my own personal issues, and then the relationships itself just, kind of piled on to it as well. But I started drinking at a young age. My dad, I can remember it to this day. When I lived in San Diego, California, we lived in Navy housing, and my dad, come the weekends, watching basketball, baseball, or football, he would tell me, Junior, go to the kitchen to get a beer. And then he knew that I liked the sound of the beer can opening, and so he let me take a sip. But I never knew that it would become a problem. And it became a problem in 2005 when I left Minnesota and went to Arizona. Now, mind you, I have a bachelor's degree in mass communications with an emphasis in radio broadcasting. And I was working in radio in Minnesota, but I wasn't, the upward mobility for me, it wasn't coming fast enough. So I decided to leave to go to Phoenix with my mom in hopes of being able to further my career within radio, but it didn't happen. And I started to hang out with my brother, which is he's 10 years older than me. And I was hanging out with his friends, and they like to drink and, smoke marijuana once they get off work. And usually that would be about, we would get together roughly, I would say about 4 times a week. And as I'm hearing their problems and complaining about their marriages, I'm just absorbing all this information, not knowing that these same problems that these grown men are having, I'm going to have them too, but they're going to be worse. And so that's pretty much what happened. And so for over the next 2 years, I continued to drink, bad relationships after another. And then I finally had got engaged. And that happened where, she eventually, I would say she got pregnant roughly, I would say 5 to 6 weeks after we had got engaged. And she had decided that she didn't want to have the child. And she already had 2 kids, and I accepted that. But I was just in the mindset like, okay, you have a ring on your finger. I'm trying to start a family with you. And now you want to stop that. And I don't have any kids even to this day. And I told her, I said, if you have this abortion, it's going to mess me up mentally. And sure enough, that's what it did. And so we tried to make the relationship work, but it did not work out. And eventually it led me going to jail. I spent a night in jail in Phoenix for criminal damage. I didn't put my hands on her. I just put a hole in the wall because, you know, she was telling me I didn't have any money, despite the fact that I had whatever money I had was going to the home. It wasn't going anywhere else. So when I got arrested, I spent a night in jail, like I said, and I was basically homeless. And so I called my mom. I was like, please let me just, you know, come back to Minnesota. I'm a, you know, whatever story I gave her. But I went on a very long binge. So from September of 2008 until December, when I did my first stint in rehab. And I actually took my girlfriend to that rehab facility when I was in Minnesota last week. So it was really good for her to see that. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't learn anything that first stint in rehab. And so
did you choose, or did it get chosen for you to go to rehab that time?
It was chosen for me.
Okay, this is off topic, but you know, interventions, I wasn't ready until I was ready. You
True.
couldn't have made me. You know, if you had forced me to go to rehab, I would have kicked and screamed, pouted, sat there, and I would have, just to show you that you were wrong to send me there, I would have probably purposefully drank when I got out. So I always wonder about the rehab, if it was your call or it was someone else's.
Yeah, it was my dad and his wife at the time. They were like, yeah, let's go. We're going to go for a ride. And they're like, just take your luggage with you. And then I ended up showing, we get to North Minneapolis right off of Broadway. And we show up at the facility, and I'm walking down the street. It was the winter time with a suitcase because I refused to go. And then, you know, he convinced me and I went, and I just did it because it was like I said, I didn't have nowhere to go. I didn't, you know, I was from house to house, my mom's house one minute, my dad's house the next, my nephew's house the next. And, you know, didn't nobody really want to have anything to do with me, you know? So that happened. And I told the counselor, I said, hey, you know, I want to join the Army. They're like, why? I said, because I need a place to live. I need a steady paycheck. I needed to address whatever issues I have. And this is the only way that I can get that. And so I joined the military, still having the issues with drinking. And, you know, I had that sober time, you know, during basic training, I believe I would say 10 weeks. And then as soon as I got out of basic training, I got into school. The first weekend that we were able to leave the base, you know, me and my buddy, we drank. And even though we weren't supposed to, and we later got caught and almost got kicked out the Army because of it. And I had numerous run-ins with the military police when I was stationed in North Carolina. I thought I was going to get in trouble, but I didn't. I will say I got arrested for being drunk on duty because, you know, I was a cook, and, you know, we work a lot of crazy hours. So we didn't have those Friday nights like everybody else, or the 4-day weekends like the 4th of July. We would usually be working those times. So instead of, you know, waiting till we get off work to drink, we just bring the alcohol to work. And somebody that was my superior, he heard me going off on somebody, and he knew that I was drinking. So they called the police and I got arrested. But luckily I didn't lose my rank. They didn't dock me any pay. I just had to do extra duty, which I think was like for 14 days. So I got off, you know, scot-free. But then I went to my second duty station, and by this time I got married in 2011. And me and my ex-wife had a lot of problems, and she liked to call the police, but I never got arrested or anything for it. But she did, and she had got arrested for domestic violence. I had a mason jar that she grabbed from me, and it broke. And then she cut my leg up. So I had all kind of like scars to this day. I had glass stuck in my leg for roughly about a month after the incident, which ended up leading me to go to rehab. And that was, I would say, the second. That was the second stint. And that
you at this point in your drinking career, are you realizing yourself that you're having a problem? Or are you still in denial? And were people telling you, Kenneth, man, you got to back it off?
I was in denial, definitely. They put me in an alcohol program. I was in an alcohol program, and I like I said, I was just checking the boxes. But yeah, I definitely, even on the second stint, I didn't do it.
And I don't want, if it's too personal, don't go there. But now looking back, I assume you think a lot of it was the fault of the alcohol. But at the time, where did the fault lie for all that was going on in your life that was going wrong? Was it someone else's doing? Was it was it? I guess it wasn't the alcohol at the time. Where were you putting the blame?
Everybody else but myself.
Okay.
Like I said, my marriage wasn't the greatest. And I mentioned it in the book. I was accused of sexual assault of my then, at that time, my stepdaughter, and it came out that, I never touched her. She had to go get a physical and everything, and they pried and asked her all the questions that need be. And my ex-wife, she chose to stay in Atlanta and party, despite the fact that CPS had called me and was asking me all kinds of questions. So I would say that there were a lot of times within my military career that I wanted to stop drinking, but it was a lot of stress, not only the Army itself, but my marriage at home. It was like I'm dealing with problems at work. I'm dealing with problems at home. The only escape that I have is to go out in the garage and drink.
Did you? Because I lost, my drinking was a result. As it progressed, I lost my ability to cope with a marriage, with the military, whatever it was in my life. And the more I drank, the more I lost those coping skills. And then it snowballed that I had to rely more and more on alcohol to cope with those things. Did you lose your coping skills as this was in just with your relying on alcohol to handle these situations?
Yeah, I pretty much wanted to just be not where I was, not in the reality of me being in the military, the reality of being married. I just didn't want to. It was just, I more or less just isolated myself whenever I had that free time to be alone. And I made sure of it.
I know that you were very involved with athletics, which is such a great way to, whether it's football with the contact, getting a lot of the stress out. And I think when we lose some of those things as we get older, that outlet for it disappears. And playing football was fun, but I don't want to go for an 8-mile jog. It's hot out. I don't get the same feeling, even though that would probably get rid of a lot of that tension in life. That's not fun. I'd rather sit on the couch and release that tension by drinking beer and watching the game.
True. And that's usually, like I said, whenever I had that Sunday off to watch football. I'm a Chargers fan. I see you got Steelers jerseys back there. But yeah, I had no, that was my only escape. If I had that Sunday off, I made sure I had my grill lit up. And I was living on the East Coast. So when it came, 1 o'clock is the game days. And I made sure that I had enough alcohol ready and prepared for kickoff. And that was my escape. I I tried going to the gym, but it became where it was like, all right, I'm getting bigger, but it was still alcohol weight. So despite the fact that how hard I might have been in the gym, releasing those endorphins, I still was, packed on weight. Like right now, I weigh 190. At the time, I might have, at my heaviest in the military, I was almost 240.
The sad thing also with, you brought this up, and I kind of chuckled because when I would go to the gym and work out, okay, that's a healthy alternative to drinking. But my mind was, hey, I just worked out. I just earned the right to drink. I countered it. I made it okay to drink because I worked out and exercised. So therefore, I've earned the right to drink. So it almost was counterproductive. It possibly made me drink more. I don't know.
Yeah, because what I would do is, because like I said, I worked crazy hours. So if I would get off work around, usually my work day would end at 12 in the afternoon. And so by 1 o'clock, I was already drinking. So what I would do is I might have a couple of drinks before I would go to the gym. I'd work out hard with me and my buddy from college, because he was living in North Carolina at that time as well. And, we work out, get a good work, a good sweat in. And then by the time, I got off, I knew, like, once we finished working out, I knew where I was going next.
It's Miller time.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. It definitely was.
That's what, that phrase, it's Miller time, is a perfect phrase, because I don't care what your Miller is, but at the end of the day, I've worked hard. I've dealt with all the stress. I've dealt with my family. I'm now alone, or whatever, wherever. Now I get to get my reward for dealing with all this crap. It's Miller time. That's what, and maybe now, Jeff is turning into it's Graham time. I don't know. Maybe that's what I should be. That should be my new phrase. I don't know. But that Miller time, I wasn't a Miller drinker, but you know what I'm saying? It's that time to release. So at this point, you're going back and forth with destruction, but justifying with working out and doing some stuff. Are you still, I got this at this point? Are you starting? How's this progressing at that point?
Well, like I said, during this time, that stretch was 2012 through 2014 was probably when I was working out a lot. And I never really like associate, like I knew I had a problem, but like I said, I denied it. And, like I said, I was alone. I didn't have family, anywhere near me. There was a stretch of time when I didn't see my family for roughly 3 years when I was in the military. And it wasn't because of a deployment. It was because I was spending more time with my ex-wife's family in Phoenix over me going to Minnesota to visit my family.
I know that from your book, I thought I was the best at hiding my drinking. From your book, at least, you were pretty good at it. From what I can tell in the book, you came close to my ability at hiding the drinking. It sounds like, the people, from what I gathered, the most of the time that people saw you drinking was when it was at the parties, or when it was okay to drink. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't, you hit it well, just like I did.
Yeah, so, they didn't know how bad I was really abusing and poisoning my body.
Exactly. So where do we go from there? What was the next stage of the story?
Like I said, 2014, I had, because of the fact that my ex-wife, the domestic violence, because like I said, I lived on base in both times I was in North Carolina and in Texas. And because of the incident that she was arrested, it was on base. It was considered an alcohol-related incident. And so they were getting ready to kick me out. And so they told me, you have to go to treatment. And so I was like, all right, whatever. I went to treatment, and I went, and it was in Alexandria, Virginia. And it was in a hospital at Fort Belvoir. And it was literally in a mental ward. They had metal toilets. The shower was only good for about 45 seconds. You couldn't leave the floor without being escorted by some type of staff. And when I got out, literally, I think I was sober for a day, and then I drank. And
what did they do wrong in rehab? Why did it not work for you? Because I hear a lot of people that make the 38 attempts through rehab. I hear so many people. One guy, a friend of mine, he was in for a full year, and he got out a year, and he walked from there to the liquor store the day he got out. So why did it fail for you? Or not maybe why did you fail it? Why did it fail you?
Because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to quit drinking. Also, it was like you asked earlier, it was forced. So this is now the second time I was forced in treatment. And so it didn't stick, because I knew that the only reason why I was there is because of the fault of my ex-wife. And my unit, they were, I guess they were just tired of me, despite the fact that like I really was never really in the trouble. And so because my second contract was going to be up in, I would say, I think it was November of 2015, I had decided that I'm not going to try to re-enlist. I'm just going to get out. And the goal was to go to school and get my master's degree. But my ex-wife, she was more focused on, you need to make money. But she didn't, I tried to explain it to her like, hey, I can survive on my disability money and the money that they were going to pay me, for the GI Bill. But she didn't want, she didn't want to hear that. So I went ahead and I did that after I got out. And I tried one job. It was with Chase Bank. And I just one day decided I didn't want to work anymore. I worked there 5 days and was like, this is not it. And during that time, I started to notice that I was starting to have health conditions. And, eventually I found out that I had diabetes, but I was having all the pre-diabetic symptoms, but I still didn't know what was wrong because I wasn't really going to the doctors. I avoided that because of the fact that it was a 30-minute drive. And usually I woke up drinking and would go to bed drinking. So it just, it was one of those.
Oh, it was awful. I wanted them early, but not too early because I wanted to have a time to, get something in my system and try not to smell like beer, but I don't want to wait too long to have the doctor's appointment because now I got to wait all day to where I can get in and start drinking.
That's true.
Plus, I didn't want to hear what he had to say. No news is good news.
Right. Right.
So was the diabetes directly, was that directly as a result of the drinking? Do you know? I don't know how much you don't look heavy is the reason I'm asking. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know how diabetes, but I just didn't know, was it fueled by the drinking?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know. All I know is that right before I went to treatment, this was November 2016, I had took a trip. I knew I was going to rehab. So I was like, all right, well, let me just get one more party in San Diego before I get sober. And I had a drink. I think it was on the plane or either had a drink right after I got off the plane. By the time I got to a family member's house, I started was sweating like crazy. And I didn't know that I was having a panic attack. So I called my sister-in-law that lives like in my old neighborhood in San Diego. And I was like, hey, I'm not feeling too well. Can you please come pick me up and take me to the hospital? And this is like by far one of the very first times that like I thought I was like on the brink of dying. And I told her, I said, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And she was looking at me like I was crazy, but that's just how I felt. And so they did some blood tests, and the doctor, she talked to my sister-in-law before she talked to me about it and was like, yeah, you need to schedule an appointment ASAP. You have pre-diabetic symptoms. And then I was like, all right. So like I said, I knew I was going to treatment because when I got back to Minnesota, because I skipped a few things, but I also was in a homeless shelter. After me and my ex-wife, like we lived together for about a year. I was in the hospital. I mentioned that in the book. I had a hospital stay of 9 days due to pancreatitis. My pancreas was about to explode. And then at that point, I knew, okay, I needed to go to rehab. But I knew that I couldn't do it in Arizona because I didn't have any family there except for my brother. And I felt like I needed more support from my family and not the support from my ex-wife and her family. So I decided, I just one day, after my lease was up at that house, my family again forced me to go to this. They thought it was a homeless shelter, and I can say the name, Phoenix Rescue Mission, right across the street from the Phoenix jail. Where Tent City is. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yep.
Yeah, I was right across the street from there. But they thought that it was a rehab, but it was a homeless shelter. And I'm telling them this, and they're thinking that I'm just giving them an excuse, like, oh, he doesn't want to be there. But I'm telling them, I'm calling them, I'm sending them pictures like this is really a homeless shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And when they kicked me out, that's when I went ahead and called. I was on the bench for about a good 2 days. I called my mom. I said, I can no longer stay in Phoenix. I need to leave. I said, don't worry. I have the money. I will get a plane ticket. I don't know how much I spent for that one way, but I got a plane ticket that same day and went to Arizona. I'm sorry, went to Minnesota. And that's when I decided to go to San Diego. And then when I came back from that trip to San Diego, I went to rehab. So I went to.
Was this now you were doing this for Kenneth?
Yes. Because of the health scare in May of 2016, and the fact that my mom had told me I had a long night of drinking, didn't get up until the afternoon, and she called me outside and was like, I don't want to bury my son. And when she said that, I was like, okay, I need to take this a little bit more serious.
You know, the Kenneth, they play. My wife and kids did that with me. I'll take them yelling at me and mad at me. It's when they play I don't want to lose you. We
Mm-hmm.
love you. That's cheating because I can't. That I can fight off or deal with you're mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
But now when you're showing the caring card, that's the one that really hurts. That digs deep.
And
that was that's when I realized when they went from being mad at me to worried that they were going to lose me.
Yeah,
that was my wake up.
Yeah, I was like, nah, I'm the youngest. My mom, she has 5 kids, and I'm the youngest, and I know, you don't want to talk about death, and it was one of those things where my mom, she's not the most affectionate person, but I knew what she was trying to say, and so then I was like, all right, mom, I'll go ahead, and I went to treatment, and needless to say, it worked this time.
Why did it work? Obviously, it's you, but what did you get differently out of it because you were opening your ears? What did you get that you didn't get the other times? What made it a success besides just you opening your heart and saying, I want this?
Because the saying, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was tired of having, going into these type of facilities. And for me, it was like when I went into the treatment, it was all about me. It was finally, since I got out the military, August of 2015, now I'm addressing all of my health issues. Before, I couldn't address them because I was too busy drinking. So now the fact that, okay, I got, my life is more important, and alcohol has been destructive for 12 years. And I wanted to make a change. My mom, she told me these exact words. She was like, you will see how life, how things will be once you get sober, and all the things that you want to do, you'll be able to do and appreciate once you get sober. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But then that's what actually happened. And I give her praise all the time for it, because I finally got it. When the first time I went to treatment, like I said, was in 2008, and I was I think 29, and now here it is, I'm 37, and now it's like, okay, I value life, I appreciate it, and I know that I still have more life in me, but I don't want it to be cut short because of alcohol anymore. I have enough scrapes and bruises. I have a lot of scars on my body because of alcohol, and I just no longer wanted to go through it.
When I went into rehab and started this journey, I had a problem with drinking way too much beer. Mm-hmm. I needed the solution was for me to take beer out of my life. Now I know that was just what I did because of the problems. What you don't, you hear the term dry drunk, which I know you know what that, but someone that takes alcohol out of their system but doesn't fix anything. The problems that were making them want to drink are still there. They don't address those things. Mm-hmm. And that's what the term dry drunk comes. What did you do you took the alcohol out, but what did you learn about yourself, or how did you fix yourself? Because you look pretty happy right now, to be honest with you.
I realized that alcohol made me angry. It made me sad. It made me think about stuff in my past that I no longer wanted to really think about. But I knew that I had to address it. And the only way that I can address these problems and issues is I had to be sober. And when I knew that it was going to work pretty much and I mentioned it in my book, is that once I got into grad school, actually, I take that back. I had applied to grad school on a Tuesday. This is all in treatment. I had one of the nurses, she typed up my letter to be submitted to my advisor, and all this stuff happened. And then Thursday I got accepted into grad school. And so I was like, okay, now I'm starting to understand what my mom is talking about. Mm-hmm. And so when I got back to St. Cloud State, I talked to one of my old advisors. He was still there, Shazad Ahmad. And I said, hey, do you guys still have the South Africa trip? He said, yes. I said, all right, well, sign me up. And so I was, at first I didn't think that I was going to go because they were having, they said I had too many health issues, but I was still allowed to go. And I would say the true benefit that really, like, it kind of was like a blessing to me is the simple fact that when I had arrived in Johannesburg, South Africa, that I got an email from my attorney, and she was like, yeah, your ex-wife has been served divorce papers. So it was kind of like a domino effect. It was like all the things that I said that I wanted to do. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to go to school when I first got out the military, and she wouldn't allow it. And so now I think what truly kept me sober in the early stages is because I'm finally working on myself. I'm not worried about nobody else. I'm totally doing what I want to do. And that's what I had to realize, because it's been so many times in my life throughout the time that I had been drinking that I was, catering to other people and not always appeasing myself. And so that's where it was, it started to continue. I got active in the city of St. Cloud as far as doing community service. I was in a leadership program called the Jew God Leadership Program. And I got a chance to interact with the community, and they also got to hear my story. So now I'm, in the early stages of sobriety, and now I'm speaking out against this, and I'm saying, hey, I'm sober, and a lot of people didn't believe me. I lost friends in the process early in the stages of my sobriety because of the fact that I refused to hang out with them because I knew that they drank. And I don't like to be in closed quarters with alcohol, because at that time I didn't trust myself. So
yeah, no, that I'm with you there. The people that, it sounds like communication or community, you working with others, that's when everything really clicked with me. And I hear people saying, I don't have anyone. I'm alone. And I thought, there's so many people out there that are dying to talk, that are dying to just be heard. It can be found, and there's plenty of people that can help people find that. But that is such a key point. One of the things we've really been hitting on lately, and I've been digging in, is trauma. I have started hearing that word a lot in the last 6 months, and learning about. I always thought trauma was the war, or it was surviving 9/11. Those kind of things were trauma, or PTSD. Mm-hmm. And I realize now trauma can be anything. It doesn't have to be, but there are still events that messed me up that were not, being in a horrible car wreck or something, just other things it did. Mm-hmm. We still have to work on those. Where did trauma play in this with you, and how are you dealing with that? How are you working through those kind of things? Because I know with being in the military and some of your background, I'm sure you have some heavy baggage there.
Yeah. Like I said, in my family, that we didn't go to therapy, that wasn't an option. So regardless of if I had any type of trauma growing up as a kid, like I said, my dad was an alcoholic, and my parents had their issues as far as the fact that my dad drank, And, you know, I witnessed that. I saw that. Like I said, I was the last one to be at home. So it seemed like I saw it the most and saw the worst of the situation. The same thing with the military. I knew that I really didn't want to be in the military, but I knew this is my last hurrah as far as, you know, getting a paycheck and a job and everything. And like I said, the relationship and the marriage that I was in, it didn't make anything easy because she wasn't as supportive as I needed and wanted her to be. It was just like, okay, you go to work, get a paycheck, come home, and that's it. But I'm like, you don't understand what I go through, you know, because like I said, I got out as an E5. I shouldn't have even been enlisted because of the fact that I came in with a degree. So I was working hard at trying to get to become an officer, but I couldn't do it because of the high amount of debt that I had. And so I couldn't get the security clearance. And so it was like I was, you know, punishing myself because I knew that I should have advanced. But because of the alcohol, it stopped me from my progression within the military, because that's what I wanted to just do a career. Initially, I'm like, you know, if I could do 20, I'll be out by 49, you know, I'll be okay. But I knew that I couldn't do it. If I was in the mindset that I am right now, where I'm not drinking, I probably would be able to do 20 years in the Army. That wouldn't have been an issue. But because of all the stuff that was going on, you know, it was an inappropriate relationship with my supervisor and my ex-wife that I had to deal with, and everybody said I was a liar, despite the fact that I had proof. So there was a lot of different things as far as the trauma, and I eventually, you know, got the help. And of course, I was, you know, seeking treatment, as I mentioned in the conversation earlier. I was also going to the alcohol groups and everything, but that's what was forced. I chose, when I got out of rehab in a 2016, that, okay, I have issues. I need to address them. I need to go talk to somebody. So I started to just seek counseling on my own. And I was doing counseling on a regular basis in St. Cloud. I have a counselor now here in Florida, and it works because, like I said, I can't do this by myself. And I need to, you know, figure out these, you know, why are these problems arising? You know, why did this happen to me? Why didn't I walk away from that situation? Why did I keep drinking the way that I did? And so I would definitely say that having a counselor, it has helped, and it's been very beneficial because it's kept me from away from drinking.
You know, what you're saying just hits home so much. I think, excuse me, I think rehab, for me, and I may be wrong, it just seems like rehab is setting you up to begin it's kind of getting you in place to start your journey. It's getting you off of the stuff, maybe getting you detoxed, getting you cleared in the head. But rehab is not the answer. It just is how do you get it? It put me in the best situation to start my journey. Mm-hmm. It's what happened after rehab is what got me where I am today and where I'm continuing to go tomorrow.
Right.
So I think people rely on rehab, and when they get out, no, you're ready to start. Mm-hmm. You know, I think rehab it's necessary for a lot of people, but mm-hmm. I think people think it's the magic pill, and when I come out, I'm going to be fixed. Mm-hmm. I'm relying on rehab to fix it for me, and no one's going to fix me except for me.
Right.
I learned that the hard way, and sadly for me, it takes effort. Mm-hmm. That magic pill, I haven't found it yet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I will be the first one to say it, that when I got out of rehab, December the 15th, I think it was. My furniture was still in storage in Phoenix. During that time that I was in treatment, I had my car delivered from Phoenix. I had it sitting at my brother's house for about 3 months. And so that car got delivered. Well, it got delivered to my mom's house because I'm like, I don't need the car up in, because my mom was like about an hour and a half away. And so I just, it was kind of like I said, a domino effect, because it was like, okay, I had the money to get my car shipped. I had the money to get my furniture shipped up here. And now that my furniture is being delivered, I had to go to my apartment. Now, mind you, this is the very first time that I'm truly alone. And it was like, all right, what am I to do? And as I mentioned before, like, yeah, there were times that I left rehab and that very same day I was getting something to drink. And I will say that I went downtown St. Cloud looking for trouble. But once I looked out the window and saw that these young adults are like the age of my nephew, I didn't want to be there. So I didn't stop at the bar. I just turned around, went back to my apartment, got me something to eat, and called it a night. And then once they delivered the furniture, I got out of there. I went back to my mom's house. Look, I can't be alone. I said, I need a couple of days just to be with you guys. I don't trust myself yet. And then, I'll go back up there.
And you just summed up the key for this thing to me is honesty.
Right.
Admitting that, hey, I'm struggling right now. I don't trust myself. I look at my track record. Look at Jeff's track record alone. Being alone is a killer.
Right.
My drinking problem didn't happen when I was sitting in front of my wife or sitting in front of my kids. I still drank, but nothing, my problems were when I was alone. And those are the situations. And I tell people that are new, I had to have the phone in hand. Hey, Ken, I'm going into the house right now. Stay on the phone with me. I just got to grab a few things, whatever it did. I had to do something. The insurance, I guess I learned to trust myself, but when I was truly honest, I had no reason to trust myself.
Right.
And that honesty is a key.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I didn't have. I wasn't honest. The same way you mentioned about I hid my alcohol very well or my drinking. I had to be honest with myself. I knew that I had this problem, and I knew that I wanted to make changes within myself. And I knew that if I continue to drink, those changes will never happen. I'll never see them. And so I was like, okay, these new things are happening to me. So it was like, hey, why not? Why not continue? Why not continue to not drink, and the rewards will just continue to come. And
what were your keys to success of getting and staying sober this time? I assume you mentioned sponsor, so I'm assuming you've gone the 12-step route. But what made this work, or what's making it work for you?
It's a different message. You look on social media, you see, nothing but alcohol. You look on TV, there's a basketball game coming on tonight, and I guarantee there's probably going to be like 30 commercials, if not more. And
they'll all be smiling when they're drinking too, happy as could be.
That is true. And I guess I just wanted to attack my problems right there. I didn't want to enhance those problems by drinking or hide myself in drinking. So I just felt like, let's try this out. You haven't been truly sober since, probably before I was 12. Like, maybe from the ages of 10 to 12, I probably wasn't drinking like that. And so for me, this is what I've known to do. I drank all throughout high school. I drank throughout, my undergrad and post-undergrad military life. And so now here it is, I'm, in my late 30s, and I'm sober. So this is different. So it was like, all right, well, it's something different in my life. So why not continue it? And then here it is now, 4 years, 7 months, or actually it's almost, and I think another week, it'll be 7 years. And 4 years and 8 months of being sober.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's been a journey. It hasn't been easy. Have I had cravings? Yes. But I just know that if I drink again, I can get sick. So I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have intestinal problems. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want my family to feel sorry for me or disappointed because I'm back drinking. So I just try to, take life at what it is. And if I have tough days, I call somebody. I'm currently here alone. My lady is working on the West Coast, so I'm here. So if I have a tough moment, I have friends to rely on. I have family to rely on. I spoke to my father today. I said, hey, Pops, I'm not doing good today. He was like, well, you want to talk about it? I said, not really. He said, well, just talk about it. He's like, maybe you'll feel better afterwards. I said what I had to say, and he was like, I noticed that your voice is not as upset. So you must feel better. And I said, yeah, I got it out. I said, but the problem is still there. But at least I was able to be expressive. There was times when I expressed my feelings and emotions in alcohol, and I'm learning now that I can't do that anymore. So I mean that's pretty much it. Like I'm just trying different things. You know, that's
Always.
what's most important in the sober journey is trying new things. If one thing doesn't work for you, try something else until it works. And like I said, I mean, my program may not work for the next, but it worked for me and has worked for me and has kept me sober. And that's what's most important. And that's the message that I try to convey to people in terms of the sober journey is make it, you know, like, as I mentioned earlier in the book, keep it simple. My sponsor was correct, is that you don't have to do all this extra, go above and beyond to prove a point. Just keep your life as simple as possible. If people don't understand it, then they're not meant to be in your life. That's how I see it. So I mean, like I said, I've had more happy times in the last 4 years and 7 months than I had in 12 years of drinking.
Yeah, so true. And they keep materializing, they keep showing up, and I just, it's a lot of fun. Just see, I kind of have that what's next mentality, which is great. Do you have any wrapping up? Do you have any daily routines? Any, hey, I got to do this, the must do's for Kenneth for his day?
Weather permitting, I try to get fresh air. I try to, you know, I'll go for a walk around my block a couple times, just to kind of, you know, piece together what my day is going to be like. Because of the fact, like I said, I haven't worked since December of 2015. So I focus more or less on my brand. I focus on 12 Faces of Sober, making videos that encourage and inspire others to stay sober. I'll jump on social media. I'm a part of a lot of different groups. I see people that have a short time as far as sobriety, that start over a couple different times. So I just try to, you know, shoot messages to a lot of people and saying, hey, you got this. Everything will be okay. You know, you just gotta, you know, don't let the certain things take a hold of your life. I mean, of course, it's easy for me to say it because I have a few years under my belt, but it's good to be able to share it, and just like I'm doing here with you. So yeah, I mean, usually I usually have a lot of VA appointments. So like today I had a VA appointment. I get 2 free pairs of shoes every year. So I went to that appointment. So my days are pretty simple. I clean up the house. I have a townhouse. I do laundry. You know, I don't like a dirty house, so I try my best to keep it as clean as possible. And then social media stuff. And that's typically, you know, my day. I usually call my mom always at the same time. I used to, in the book, I mentioned it. I used to call her at 11 o'clock. My sponsor told me I got to stop doing that. It's too early. So I call her a little bit later. We'll talk about life and politics and whatever's going on as far as current events.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things that I do. And, you know, like I said, I have a couple other friends that are, you know, on the fence as far as sobriety. And I try to, you know, just talk to them. They have, you know, marriage problems, and I just try to give them advice like, man, okay, deal with the problem, but just don't drink, you know. So I mean, that's pretty much it. And like I said, I have my website, 12 Faces of Sober. I try to upload as many pictures as I can of people who bought my merchandise, my books, my t-shirts, my hoodies, like the one I got on. And that's pretty much it. And I have a podcast that I usually do on Sundays, 12 Faces of Sober Speaks. It's between Facebook and Instagram. And I have hosts.
Well, I need to get that, and I'll put that up on the website. So send that to me, and I'll make sure we post that on the book, 12 Faces of Sober. I'll tell you what. Yeah, there you go. So you're doing better with the light than I am.
Yeah.
If there's anyone I've ever talked to that has if you doubt your ability to overcome, read this book, because suddenly it's like, okay, Jeff, get off your butt. You can do this. Yeah. If Kenneth can handle what he went through and come out on top and be smiling like you're smiling tonight, There's your inspiration.
And I got a couple more books in the works too.
Yeah. What is it? 3 or the next title? Something 3?
No, the next book, I'm gonna probably be doing both of them at the same time. One is about my childhood when I played baseball in San Diego, being one of the best players in the area and the only black athlete that was playing at the time. And the reason why I stopped is because my dad was had left the family, so I just completely stopped playing. That
Robinson of the Sandlot.
That is true.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
In that one, and then I'm probably gonna go in more detail about my Army career and just focus on the day-to-day aspect of it. Of course, touch on the drinking, but just like you said, the PTSD portion of it, the stuff that they do as far as the mind games that they want to play. So I want to address that, and just more or less from my perspective, because a lot of people don't know what really goes on in the military. And like you said, you don't have to have PTSD just because you're deployed.
Yeah,
you can deal with that here stateside.
Well, thanks so much. We will have this will be up for the long haul. We do have the new website, gettingback2zero.com, that we're building, but all the videos are up there, and we'll have this one highlighted for Kenneth. And make sure you get me all the contact info. But 12facesofsober.com. At least we'll get you close, get you started on it. And I'm sure they can get a hold of you there. But Thanks so much for joining tonight. Great stuff. Congratulations, and thanks for sharing it.
Thank you for allowing me to come on tonight. I really do appreciate it. I'm gonna have you on my show soon. We'll talk about that as well.
Anytime. All right. Well, hang on just a second.
Okay.
Thursday night we will have Dr. Fritchie, who's our medical addictive medicine physician on. Got some good conversations, some good questions for her about the biological side. Some of the questions about whether this is a physical or a psychological addiction or dependence. So some good stuff that she's going to answer a lot of great questions for. So join us then Thursday night. But Kenneth, thanks again, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. Great meeting you. Have a good night, everyone. Be safe.